Randomly with Ronnie Jr.
All right, we are chatting with B, also known as Pet Shop Boy. Real estate is the job, but social media has sort of taken over for this guy. Pet Shop Boy is the Instagram handle. It sort of became this thing that, like, you just kind of spoke your truth or whatever, made lots of pop culture commentary, and people wanted more and more. Is that kind of how things blew up for you?
Yeah, I noticed that I accrued more. Hi, by the way. I noticed that I accrued more followers when they introduced the stories feature on Instagram, and that's when because I post mostly as stories. I don't really do a lot of like actual feed posts, and I think it's just the format of stories, kind of like people with like shorter attention spans, and it's great storytelling technique. Format, I guess, to tell stories in and just kind of offer your opinions on pop culture and, commentary.
And one of the biggest pop culture things he talks about is Housewives of Potomac, which I enjoy as well, because I also interviewed Giselle Bryan, who I think is amazing. Real quick before we get to some of these pop culture things, can you just tell me how, from doing that, making it sort of a hobby, as you stated, we talked about real estate is your thing, but like to go ahead and do a podcast, and it seems to be growing pretty well. Like, how does that duality hit? Like, what gave you the idea, like, I need to take this to the next level?
So, I thought it was the next gradual step for me because, I listened to a few podcasts. I'm not a huge podcast listener, honestly, and even still after I have one. But I just thought it was the next gradual step because it's like a way to storytell, but not necessarily. I've never been someone who feels like super comfortable in front of a camera, but I kind of feel okay just kind of talking. So, it just seemed like a natural progression for me, and it was so easy, and it's definitely more DIY. And also, I had interviewed with a few different people. The idea for a podcast to come to me from a couple of different places. Like, I had interviewed with Viacom, reached out to me a while back, and then also I talked to someone from Vice, things like that. So it was always kind of an idea in my head. But then I finally Tracy Morrissey, who's my current producer for the podcast, The B-List, she reached out to me via DM and had followed me for a long time. And she said, long-time listener, first-time caller, before we even had a podcast, but she was just saying to meet with me to discuss some possibilities about developing one or a show. And so we met, and she was the first person I felt like really like understood what I was about. And she came to me with like a fully formed idea. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. You have it all worked out. So it just kind of worked out perfectly. And that was early this summer. We kept talking, and then around like fall was when we really sat down and decided to make it happen.
Long time, first time is like a radio, iconic thing.
She got me with that.
Way before the Howard Stern moments. And I got to tell you, like, for me, one of the big resistance I've had is like, I've always enjoyed because I worked in the radio industry. So I always enjoyed terrestrial, and I had such a hard time transferring over to like enjoying IG stories. And I will tell you, one of the reasons I had to have you on my platform was because I saw your stories and I was like, oh, you could actually make them amusing. I don't know what it was. I think it was a little bit of you kind of like, I don't know if you designed it, but you did content that felt like stuff that I'd be interested in, Housewives of Potomac, but the twist on it and the POV, the point of view was like really, really intriguing. What are some of the things? Go ahead.
No, I don't want to cut you off. Sorry.
What are some of the things that you have posted, and what are some of the things that get more reactions? I assume Potomac, but there's like a lot of different.
Really, honestly, it depends because, for instance, like Potomac is a show that I feel like for a long time when they first came out, I was always watching it, and I've always loved the women. But now people are just kind of catching on, I guess, because I'm hammering it into people's heads. They make fun of me for being into Potomac, but now they fully see why it's amazing.
I'm not a big Atlanta fan, so I really have been saying for a long time, outside of Kenya Moore, who I love, Potomac is way better than Atlanta.
Yeah, so better.
For a couple of years now. Yeah.
So all that to say that I don't think I think it necessarily about what people are going to respond to. I feel like, honestly, sometimes they respond to this stuff that I wouldn't even think that they would. For instance, like my stories focused on Karen Huger or Robin Dixon, I don't only just talk about Potomac, as you know, but the things that I feel like wouldn't even necessarily be popular on other people's pages, that's the reason that they come to mind. So those really tend to get the most traffic because the best way to say it is that I guess that they're unique to my point of view, I guess. Things
Have you?
that I like aren't necessarily what everyone else likes, but when you set them to music or you do it in a certain way, then it can kind of, people can relate to it.
No, honest to God, I was that old, like pushing 40-year-old that was like, I never want to do IG story. But then I've seen your stories and I've laughed, and I've always had to say, like, I think it's because he talks about stuff that is relevant to, like, people around our age or whatever the case,
Yeah.
but like it's also like that funny spin. Some of the Karen Huger stuff is great. So just let's do one Potomac thing because I can't move on. So is Karen Huger your queen of that series? Because I'm a Giselle boy myself.
Karen Huger, I think so. I mean, I love Giselle. I met Giselle. She's really sweet, but I think that Karen Huger has something about her where she's just like not totally self-aware, and like she's not great at the reality TV game yet. And I think that's why I love her, because she's kind of like a little bit off. You know what I mean?
Right.
She's not perfect, and she's like kind of like how people love Mariah Carey, because she's like an imperfect. You know what I mean? There's like so much to like, be like, she's kind of a bad performer sometimes, at times, but she's also, when she hits it out of the park, she's amazing. So that's why I like Karen. She's the most, I think, human.
Okay, but you do like Giselle. That's just what makes that series. They're an all-star cast, really. What I loved about Giselle is, even going back to episode 1, because I was like you, I was an early Potomac fan, because I don't watch all the franchises. I watch like Jersey a lot, love New York. I couldn't tell you who a Bronwyn is on Orange County. I don't even know who that woman is. I barely found out that Bronwyn and Gina are 2 different people. I always thought that was the same person. So
oh yeah,
I've got a long way to go.
If you don't follow that one, it can be definitely difficult to like differentiate them. But I've met Bronwyn. She's really, really sweet. She's great. And I really like OC.
Is it worth a watch? See, I was in Miami. Yeah. I liked Miami, and Miami got canceled. So that kind of bugged me.
Kind of flavor to it, because especially the new season, the newest one, it's like it's definitely wilder and it's a little bit younger. But nothing compares to the real Miami, though.
My question to you is, how do you balance doing like this fun social media stuff just sort of as a hobby, but then did become something you made lucrative and, spawned to a podcast, and then balance like your workload with your actual job? Do you find like that balance is kind of challenging?
Well, because with my job, I do work a lot, but a lot of it can be on my own time. Like, I can kind of form my own schedule depending on what project I'm kind of working on. It's really project based. So there's times when I'm really busy, but I always kind of, the thing is like when I'm drafting stories and stuff like that, it's not really something that I pre-think. I'm really just kind of doing it on the cuff.
Yeah, but it's funny though. I mean, you can't knock, like, I know you're being humble or whatever, but it's like I said, it is amusing. And then I think I heard one of your podcasts, you're talking about, should I dip into talking more about love and hip hop and Mariah Lynn? I said, this boy, Pet Shop Boy, he's talking about a lot of stuff that I think is funny as heck, because we all love Mariah Lynn no matter what.
Yeah. But I'm sorry, the question was, how did I? Yeah, so I live in New York, so it's kind of it's not too difficult to like be kind of have your hand in a bunch of different worlds. And for instance, like when I noticed my social media following started going up, people started to ask me to host parties and things like that. And I don't like totally love to do tons of parties, host things like that, but if they're going to pay, and if it's someone that I actually go to, or if it's someone that I really like, then I'll work with them. So it's been great in that respect. And then also when the social media following kind of grew, more brands started reaching out to do sponsored content. I've done stuff with like Chappie, the dating app, Trojan last summer, different things. So now I have a partnership going with Lyft and City Bike right now. But this is totally, I'm not even getting paid for the Lyft City Bike thing. Just like it's just for critical workers right now during the coronavirus crisis, to get them a free month of bike share.
My question to you next is, growing up in Houston, what drew you originally to New York City, and what do you feel about it from the time that you got here in New York to the time that it is now? Like, do you feel like every year New York lessens its spirit? Like, does New York come through hitting harder? Like, how do you feel about New York City? Because it's just constantly changing. I first moved to New York when I think it was 2011. Yeah, 2011, and have been on and off about 6 years, mostly in Harlem and then also in Bushwick. Yeah.
Okay. So I moved here. When did I move here? Oh God, like 15 years ago, I think. Yeah, a while ago. But I never really felt like totally at home. It's my home, Houston, but I definitely always knew that I would end up somewhere in the Northeast. I don't know what it is. But I just always had my eye on New York. I moved here, and it took me about like 5 or 6 years to really kind of start to actually like the city.
5 years?
Yeah, because I feel like you go through so many iterations in like groups of friends and things. You think that the people you first meet when you move here are going to be your forever friends, and you don't
Oh,
understand. You're going to go through a lot of different phases when you move here, and you're going to see a lot of different groups until you figure out get your footing. It's such a big city, you know? And it took me a while to really like find the friend group that I still have today, you know?
well, I think also when you're in your early 20s or mid 20s, I feel like your tolerance is so much, you let everyone be a friend. But then when you get over 32,
Yeah.
you're like, I hate you
Yeah.
all. But then it might just be your own shit. Can we talk about like,
I'm 25, so.
huh?
Well, I'm 25, so I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm the one pushing 40. And it's all good, and I'm still sexy, and that's just what it's going to be. Can we talk about also, so on the social media, and it spills over to podcast as well, it's called the B list, after your name, B. I always get that confused because I'm like, is it Pet Shop Boy? Is it B? You also talk about not just housewives, of course, but like just some great queer content. I know recently you had Evan Ross Katz on there. Who are some sort of like icons or people that you adore as far as like how they're rocking it in the queer community? Like who's doing it right? I mean, a lot of people have adulation for Billy Porter. Who do you feel is doing it right out there?
Honestly, like the entire cast of Pose, I love.
Yeah.
Specifically, MJ Rodriguez, I love. I think
You hosted a party with. Did you host a party with MJ also?
Yeah, I didn't meet her
Pride?
to the party. That was like last summer for Pride, and she was great. And she's great on that show. I think they're all phenomenal. So I love all of them. Billy Porter, I guess. I never really thought about this. I mean, Evan Ross Katz is someone I really respect his opinion, and I love his writing. And I think Ira Madison.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I love
Yeah,
Ira
that podcast is kind of everywhere.
Yeah, he's just got a really unique kind of like funny voice and a point of view, you know. So I really like him. I really like that singer Vincent. Have you heard of him?
No, I'm thinking of a porn person, but go ahead.
Oh no, his name is like Vincent, but I think there's like no E in it. But I think he was actually on Evan Ross Katz's podcast.
Oh, it's ringing a bell now.
So he's black.
Is it poppy like sounding or the music?
Yeah, Poppy. Yeah,
Okay.
I just recently got into him, so he's just the first one on my mind. But I don't know that much about him. Yeah, I think that's mostly
No, it's all good. Thoughts, just because you're great on commentary, I'll just throw out a couple names and I just want to hear what your thoughts are. One of them will be a bit of a trick because she's my queen. So I hope you don't rip her to shreds, but we'll see. So the first one we'll do is, of course, Dua Peep. Just the only way to explain it. Just give me some great commentary and some banter on the amazing Dua Peep.
I didn't really like follow her that much the first album, but this second album, like the build up to it, I don't know if she hired some different stylists or what, got some different gays around her, but now I'm fully sold. I like love it. It's a great album. I'm fully a Dua Peep stan.
Yeah,
I joke about it on my stories and stuff. It's not because I usually if I like drag somebody like or somebody, like it's not because I dislike them. It's because I like actually like love them. But sometimes I love the ridiculousness of, you know what I mean?
Well, you know who that reminds me of? Robin Dixon. We love, like I always say, Ramona and Robin Dixon they're two totally different cast members, but they're the same. Never get rid of them. Even if they bring just nuts, like I still need them on the show. Ramona could drive me crazy, and Robin could Juan Dixon it out forever.
Yeah.
And I don't care how bad, I still want it, you know?
I
My own insecurities. I'm not sure. Dua Lipa, I wasn't necessarily always into originally, but I caught on really quick. It was just because I didn't know what role she was gonna fit in, you know. And I was a Tuvalu fan, and I kind of was like, "Is this the same?" But then I found out it was way different. And you've seen a little bit of the glow up too, so I guess that helps. Talk about Mariah Carey. So you said she's funny because she's
imperfect,
nutty, or
she's nutty, yeah. But I mean, she'd have to admit that too, right? It's but like I fucking love her. Can I curse on this? Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
I love her. Especially her older stuff. The newer stuff, not so much. I mean, definitely Caution was a great album, but before that, I wasn't really following for a long time. But Caution is a great album.
Let's do one, since we talked about Housewives in New York. I said Ramona, and evidently a friend or colleague of yours. I really don't think she got her due, and I want to know your point of view as a
Ramona?
viewer. Barbara, yeah.
Oh, Barbara.
I
I was
want
going
to
to say
know, like,
Ramona, not a friend of mine, no.
oh, but what did you think about her appearance, and do you wish she came
Yeah,
back?
Barbara. Yeah, Barbara's a good friend of mine. I love her. I wish she didn't really get a fair shake. I
No,
don't think,
not at all.
not at all. And it bothered me, especially because of the stuff with when she said that she was bisexual on the show or just sexually fluid, I guess.
Right.
Kind of their reaction to that was a little bit disappointing, I think. But she's a great person, and honestly, she really like legitimized that season a bit. Like, well, not herself. She only solely legitimized it, but she, as a businesswoman, I don't think a lot of the women on the show can say that they have a multi-million-dollar construction firm, that's
Yeah.
like women ran. So I think that that's something that's really, really great that she brings to the table, and I don't think that they really like respected her like she should have been.
There's a part.
Bethany, I think, got along so well right at the beginning. If you notice, Bethany was right away warmed up to her because she
Yes.
respected her, and I think it's really important to have on that show.
If you had to choose one between Sonia and Luann, who's your favorite out of those two?
Sonia. I think Sonia's funner.
She's really goofy. I think her tagline from a
Nicer.
huh?
She's nicer.
Oh. probably, but I don't mind Luann either, just for the entertainment.
I don't mind Luann. I think Luann's great. I think everybody on New York is great for the show, but I think Sonia's just like fun.
What are your thoughts on Jennifer Lopez?
I loved her in Hustlers. I'm not a Jennifer Lopez like music stan, but I loved her in Hustlers. That made me like want to get in her corner more, but I want to see what she does like now after.
Right. Okay. Well, that was the trick question. That was my queen. I go heavy for there. Yes, I do, and I always got to argue it a little bit because a lot of people are like, "Oh, she can't sing, she can't this, she can't that." And I'm like, I get what you're saying.
She can't sing. She can definitely dance though. Right?
Yeah, there's
Isn't that what she did?
Huh?
That's like what she did was dancing before this.
Yeah, and there's something to me about like this longevity. Like she managed to hold the legacy very good for Selena, but then yet we don't necessarily always think of J-Lo, Selena until we take a moment.
Yeah.
And even if you couldn't sing per se, I know that's her struggling suit, let's say, she's managed to continue. She's managed to be
just iconic moments.
Yeah, and when she got me, she got me all the way gooped was when she freaking did the halftime show, and she had the nerve, and I say this with love, she had the nerve and the audacity to go after Shakira. Like Shakira's resume is like / to oblivion.
Yeah.
Even as a fan watching that, I'm like, whoa, she got the nerve to feel like she could go after Shakira. And she did her thing,
Yeah.
Some will say it's just, twisting and dancing, but, I still love it. I went to the Madison Square Garden show, the one that was blacked out. So it was a lot of fun. And then I went to the second show too. So the J-Lo stand for sure. You said Mariah Carey. Who's another iconic pop diva that really we should be paying attention to?
I really don't like that many pop girls. Like I don't stan that many, but I love Rihanna. I think Rihanna is the perfect mix of like her social media presence is really funny. She's got a really good sense of humor about herself and everything. And everything from style to her actual quality of her music is just like, it's good. No one's seeing Rihanna. They can't see her.
No, not at all. And when people were honored about like, oh, put out music, it's like, why? She's got the coin jumping, so like who cares? Briefly talked about Love and Hip Hop. Who of all the shows, who of the Love and Hip Hop girls do you really enjoy? I've got my pick for probably the all-time favorite, but I want to hear who you think.
I think, I like the tragic ones. Like, I kind of love like Tierra Marie, but I will say my number one is K. Michelle, because she's the quality of her music is better than all of the other girls. I think she's the best music to come out of that show, and she's still doing it, and she's really talented, I think, and she's super funny. She was the funniest girl I think has ever been on that show.
Okay, I like that one.
She's the only one who had a solo show afterwards. She had
a spin-off. Is she the only one? Well, I know
Jocelyn did shortly.
Yandy had a wedding, but who watched that? That Yandy every season drives me nuts, but it's okay. So who I liked? I liked an Erica Mena early.
Oh, I loved her. Yeah, early. She was my early one. I was obsessed with Erica Mena. I still love her, but I liked seasons 3 and 4 Erica Mena when she was still with Rich Dollars and like your guns. Like that was the Erica Mena I loved.
And she
Now it's cooled down.
right. And she was always a little bit that way though, because she was on the Kardashian show that
Yeah.
one season.
Working it down.
So and she was in the Chris Brown Yo video, like, you know, she's been around.
She's fucking everyone in Terror Squad.
Yeah. A little bit.
Allegedly.
Information. Yeah, allegedly. Wendy was. So what do you think about Wendy Williams? Because Wendy Williams seems to get a lot of critique. The reason I particularly like her is because I've sort of done a lot of radio and been around it for a long time. And I just feel like sometimes Wendy gets the same critique as like a blogger, you know what I mean, who's just trying to be messy, whereas Wendy actually is talented. I'm not negating no drug issue. What do you think about Wendy overall?
I love her. I mean, like, it's hard because she made those comments a couple of months ago about the LGBT community. She apologized, so I'm trying to look past it. I'm not saying everybody has to forgive her, but I'm just trying to, like, because I think that what she brings to the table in terms of like pop culture, just commentary is like unparalleled yet by anybody else that we have like on daytime television. So she can be just like sitting in her kitchen doing the at-home stuff, just eating.
Oh my God, what a joke that I love. I want it.
It's funny. It's just like she's
a monster and I want more. Yeah.
No, she's like, I'm not saying she's perfect. And I think that's why I like her, is because she's not perfect, you know?
When it comes to radio girls, like, of course, I'm more of an Angie Martinez fan, just as far as talent and radio and all that stuff. But
I love Angie Martinez.
Everybody has their own thing, you know what I mean? Like the one time I interviewed Angie Martinez, it was a great interview. I was like totally motivated from it, but you're going to get that from Angie. Angie's going to give it to you. She's going to be professional. Wendy, I don't know what she's going to get, but I mean, I'll watch it.
All over the place. What's his name? Charlemagne the God is very similar. He's like the male Wendy Williams.
He is. I feel like I favor Ebro though, and I'm very low in opinion. No one else agrees with me really, but
yeah, I don't really like Ebro that much, but
then again, I've known who Ebro.
Sorry, bro.
A lot of people think Ebro copied Charlemagne, so I think that's where it comes from.
Oh, see, I don't really see the comparison. I don't really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like him, and I yeah. Anyway, talk about some of the Bravo shows that you do enjoy.
Lately, I've been getting into Summer House. I can't tell if it's just the quarantine, like me just not having anything. But lately, I have gotten into Summer House. But the thing is I was thinking about it. I think I like shows that are filmed in the summer that air in the fall, winter, because they give you something to look forward to.
Jersey Shore, Logo had the Fire Island. Yeah, they give you a little bit of like you're claustrophobic almost, and you're ready to like burst.
Exactly.
So,
Summer House is the one I think.
Huh?
Yeah. Summer House. I think that's the one I think.
So Vanderpump is of course better in general, but it is falling a little bit. But I actually always advocate for Summer House. I think it's really good. I think they're missing a cast member or two.
I think so. I think they should get a bigger house somehow. Maybe incorporate some people of color for sure.
Yeah. I mean, why Danielle was there, and then Danielle got like, you know, a part-time role, which didn't make sense to me. I love Danielle. Yeah. And I love Lindsay. Lindsay Hubbard is...
Oh, yeah. Lindsay's the best one, I think.
I mean, she's like...
a natural. Like, but she's been on the show since the beginning, right?
Yeah, she has. Yeah.
You could tell. You could tell she's like seasoned. She knows what she's doing. Like,
she's a PR chick too, so that means... And her own business, so... It's kind of like she knows how to, you know, play both games, you know, and
yeah, she's on the show for a minute. She knows how to produce, but it's not too. It doesn't feel too forced yet. She's still kind of messy. Yeah, I like.
Am I right to think that Backyard Envy's coming back?
It is. Season 2. Yeah.
It was good though. They did the freaking what was it down near Tribeca? The huge Tulum looking
Gitano.
I didn't like. I had been there before, like you know, and enjoyed. And then I'm watching the TV show, and I'm like. Oh wow, that's very big.
Yeah, they do a lot of big projects. This season's going to be really good. I think I don't know if I can give this stuff away, but they're doing they did a Saint Germain event that is really like amazing. Looks great. Barbara's there. I don't know if I was with Barbara and we went to the opening. I don't know if Barbara's going to be in there.
That was the first thing I thought. I said, well, if Barbara can't do Housewives, like, I'd like her to do a second season, but you know, she maybe don't want to mess with the as Wendy says, the swill.
She was supposed to be on the season though. I think they were going to do her house. I don't know if they ended up doing it.
Of all Housewives that I feel like needed a second season, Barbara is pretty high up there. It's gonna sound funny that I say this now because she became sort of a bigger name after Housewives. But season 1 went so heavy for Larsa Pippen. I was a Larsa Pippen.
Oh yeah, especially now, like after everything that's kind of gone on with her life, like she's a definite. Like if they ever had Miami back, they would have to make it around her circle because she's
I
everywhere.
mean, Miami was a
Crazy
lot.
stories.
I don't know nothing about Dallas. Never seen one episode of Dallas. I know there's like a Leanne lady. Don't care.
Yeah.
But Miami, I watched every season, and
Leah
I wish it came back. I just do.
Leah Black is one of my favorite housewives of all time.
Yes, and I like my housewives to be of Leah Black's age as well.
I was just gonna say that I love like an older. That's why I like Karen Huger. I like I like that kind of like age range because their kids are like often, or I guess Leah's son was pretty young during that show. But I like typically when their kids are off to college and they just drink a little bit more.
Well, my thoughts are when you bring in these young rowdy ones. No offense to a young one, they some of them are good. I like Melissa Gorga when she was young. Now she's 40. But when they get too loud and too chippy and too physical, Potomac, I'm always like, why don't you bring that action to Love and Hip Hop if that's what you want to do?
Yeah, if I wanted to see that all the time, I would just watch Basketball Wives. But I like that there's like, but I like that's why I think that Potomac and Miami worked is because they have that age range that hits so many spots along the way. It's like you've got Giselle's range, then you've got Candace who's very young, and Ashley, and then you've got the Karen Huger. I would love to see maybe someone else cast to like be on Karen's level a little bit. That's why I thought Charisse was really nice because she would play with Karen.
I miss her. I didn't like Charisse, and then when she was gone, I missed her. So shame on me.
She's like Sheree.
Huh?
She's like Sheree. Like Sheree, I don't need when she's there, but then when she's gone, I'm like, oh, I miss Sheree. She'd be so perfect right now.
I'll just end you with two of my comments, and I'll get your reaction. So my two most overrated housewives of all time, Nene Leakes.
Yeah.
Don't like her. And I think Kyle gets a favorable edit every season, and she's quite boring. I tried to watch Beverly Hills because of Garcelle, and I liked Lisa Rinna. But that Kyle is just the most boring housewife, which is fine. But to get such a favorable edit, it's like she walks on water. I can't do it.
She's got to be friends with someone, I think. Yeah, I agree with that. I'd say my two most overrated would be Erica Jane. I think she's all flash and no substance.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I
don't know. I don't fight for her, so it don't matter.
People love her, so
I sometimes wonder if they don't know how to edit her. They knew how to edit like Erica Jane caricature, and then when she gives like more heart, they like don't know how to edit that for some weird reason.
I just like it feels like she's like very unbothered all the time by people, and that's not why I want to watch Housewives. I want to see her interact with people.
You want to see a vulnerable cry like a Robin Dixon.
Yeah. Like I don't think we've seen her yet, so I don't want to give her but I do think she's a little bit overrated, and I would say, let's say. Probably Tamra. I don't, people love Tamra, and I just don't see it. So
I'm like, that must be OC because I don't know. I mean, I know who the OC people are. I just don't really watch it. You don't want to lock into too many shows.
No,
what's your favorite thing about pop culture in general? Just connecting with people?
Yeah, and I really like the intersection of politics and where it meets mainstream pop culture.
Right.
Or like kind of like I don't know how to put it, but like I guess recounting or explaining politics and what's kind of going on through the lens of Housewives or Love and Hip Hop or something. Does that make sense? Like, so how the way that like housewife memes can still work into like a story that's related to politics.
Well, it's important because important's an interesting word, but it's important because sometimes like all that stuff drains you, like the actual like dissemination.
Appetizing for people to understand and still kind of take in, but like
so when the press conferences go crazy and it like almost like makes you cringe, I will say, kudos to you, like you'll be able to hit an IG story that it is humorous, like it really, if you could find a wig shift moment out of the country.
or like the current, like the way that the Trump press conferences have been lately and how crazy they are, it immediately makes me think meme-wise of Karen's crazy press conference with the peanuts and that army suit where she was talking about her taxes. You know what I mean? That was rough.
And I was in I got to stick on this Potomac moment because I was in, I thought unpopular opinion that I thought Giselle did no wrong. People thought it was shady that she did it.
I thought it was so shady.
It was, but this is what I say. You're throwing a whack fake press conference. I'm going to give you what you give me. That's why I love Giselle. Giselle, season one, Karen's like, I'm going to give you a mirror or whatever for etiquette. What did Giselle do? She turned around the mirror and said, well, aren't I beautiful? Giselle has got to be number one. I don't think Karen is number two. They're both right there. Karen sometimes moves like a millennial. That's all I'll say.
Moves like a millennial?
A little bit sometimes.
Moves houses.
No, well, no,
Oh,
like,
I thought you were being shady.
well, that too.
That too.
That
She's
too.
moving around.
I meant her grind, her hustle is very millennial-ish sometimes, you know.
Okay.
I want the grind dom at all times. Anyways, this was about pop culture. Any big plans for your podcast? And why the heck is the name Pet Shop Boy and B? I need to know the difference or how that all came together.
Well, my real name is B. It's Brandon, but everyone calls me B since I'm little, and I was in spelling bees as a kid, so everyone just calls me B ever since I was little. And then, Pet Shop Boy. I needed an Instagram name one day, and Pet Shop Boys is a band that I was into. I mean, I still am. They're a good band, but they're not my favorite band. But
Yeah, they are good though.
Pet Shop Boys. And so I just went with that. It was cute. Pizza Boy was taken, so Pet Shop Boys.
Gotcha. Big plans on the podcast, or just kind of you and Tracy just working it out and just getting more guests?
Tracy just working it out in this new world we're living in temporarily, but we should expect to be. We've been recording separately, so I sent her the tapes or the files rather.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of the recording on my mic with people's Skypes. So when we get back in the studio, I've got some more housewives coming up. I don't want to say exactly who just yet, but some more housewives coming in, and from different coasts. So
all right, keep up the good work. I've seen Margaret Josephs have done the show, and I like Melissa Gorga, so that would be my hope next time. You know, like she got a little rough judgment this last season, but that's neither here nor there. Thank you, Pet Shop Boy /B, the B-List podcast. I find it quite entertaining, and as you've known, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's fun. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for